All right, guys, so we previously talked my top 10 overrated teams heading into next college football season. So today we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 underrated teams. So to qualify for this list, pretty much you had to not be on any top 25 that I can find preseason-wise. And then also I had to be able to find you outside of your top 5 in your conference power rankings in some form or fashion in some poll. So that knocks off a ton of teams. So teams you might think about, like Iowa, Louisville, Virginia Tech, all those teams are not going to be on this list because I did find them in some top 25s across the nation. First off, though, some honorable mentions here. Northwestern, David Braun did a pretty good job last year in his first year, kind of under some bad circumstances. Won 8 ball games. They do lose a bunch, though, so I kind of question how good they're going to be this next year. UCF, you've got Gus Malzahn, brings in KJ Jefferson from Arkansas. Should be a nice duo. TCU, think back a couple years ago, they made the championship, the national championship. They've got their quarterback coming back. They should be all right. FAU, you've got Tom Herman, former Texas head coach. Should be kind of intriguing. Minnesota, PJ Fleck kind of gets the benefit of the doubt. Indiana, they've got Curt Cignetti coming over from James Madison, and they should be okay, actually. They bring in some interesting transfer portal guys, but I don't know what their ceiling will be in the Big Ten, though. Last but not least here, Georgia Tech. They should actually be really talented. I think they're borderline top 25 preseason team for me. Really talented, in particular their quarterback Haynes from Texas A&M, but they play such a brutal schedule, I don't see how they can go through that unscathed. All right, so first off, we've got a tie for 10th. All right, there's not really any particular order on this list at first. It's kind of how good I think these teams are going to be as far as they're listed. So, for example, Charlotte, out of my top 10, is the weakest, I think, out of these top 10, basically. So, basically, on each team, you're going to see the 2 pluses at the top. That's why they're on this list, why I think they're underrated. You're going to see their record last year. That's what that 3-9 is. They're going to all say NR because they're all not ranked. I should have just taken that off, I guess. And then you'll see their lowest prediction I could find in their conference. So, Charlotte, why are they on this list? All right. So, last year they went 3-9. All right, they're predicted to be 14th in the American Conference. First off, the American Conference is for the taking. All right, SMU's gone. UTSA should take a step back. They're losing a ton from these past couple years. Tulane, their head coach is gone, went to Houston. And then you've probably got, I'd say, Memphis and USF at the top, probably. After that, though, it's up for the taking. Charlotte has one of the best G5 transfer portal classes in the nation. So that's one thing you probably didn't expect. All right. They added a lot of Power 5 talent from the transfer portal, which I think is going to make them one of the most talented teams in the American Conference, which has got to stand for something. Even if they're not going to be good, they're going to be talented. And that's kind of half the battle, just getting the talent on the field. Then you can go from there. They showed some flashes last year, played with Memphis, took them to overtime. So I think this team actually should creep up on some people next year. All right, so the next team tied for 10th. After this, we've got just 9 teams, but I couldn't decide on these 2 teams as far as who to be 10th. East Carolina, also in the American Conference. All right, 2-10 last year, really bad year. Predicted to go 13th in the American Conference. So another reason for them, they've added some Power 5 guys from the transfer portal as well. In particular, Garcia, you'll see his picture up there from Missouri. They add some talent, and despite their record last year, their coach has won big at multiple places. All right, he was at James Madison, went to the national championship there a while back. So I think he's going to get this team on the right track at some point here and make them a probably serious contender year in and year out. And with the transfer portal class they coming in, them and Charlotte, both of them towards the top of the G5 ranks, I think they should be pretty good this year. All right, number 9, Arkansas. Now, I'm not saying Arkansas is going to win the SEC, but there's a possibility they could be better than 12th is what I'm getting at here. All right, so they went 4-8 last year, obviously a really bad year. Predicted to go 12th in the SEC. They bring in Bobby Petrino, former head coach, as their new offense coordinator. That's with the new O. They also bring some other pieces on offense. Green, you can see him at Boise State up in that picture up there. That's going to be their new quarterback, and he's really good. If you haven't watched him, he's really impressive. They showed flashes last year. All right, so despite the really bad record, they had single-digit losses to Ole Miss, Alabama, LSU. Those are 3 of the best teams in the SEC besides Georgia. They played with those teams. So they've got a little overhaul on offense here, bringing some new talent on offense as well. I think Arkansas could creep up on some people this year. All right, number 8, UNLV. UNLV out in the Mountain West, predicted to go 6th is what I could find. 9-5 last year, actually a pretty good year. They bring in Matthew Sluka from Holy Cross. All right, their head coach at Holy Cross actually went to James Madison. But anyway, Sluka broke a lot of records at Holy Cross. Really impressive numbers. Curious to see how that translates here. They also have a lot of Power 5 skill players coming in the transfer portal. All right, so besides Sluka, he's going to have a lot of weapons that are Power 5 level talents at the G5 level. I think UNLV should win the Mountain West. All right, number 7, Boston College. All right, not a bad year last year, 7-6, but some predictions they're expected to go 17th in the ACC, which is towards the bottom, obviously. ACC's expanding this year. All right, you bring in SMU, you bring in Cal, you bring in Stanford. Boston College, though, brings in Bill O'Brien as their head coach. All right, I know he got kind of a bad rap as the Alabama OC, but he was actually pretty good when he was a head coach at Penn State. And Boston College is never going to get a coach like Bill O'Brien. He wanted to be there. You've got a guy that wants to win there. You also bring your quarterback back, Thomas Castellanos, which is really impressive. All right, really good dual threat guy. He can run the ball. I'm curious to see how he does, though, in Bill O'Brien's offense, how that translates. And they have some really good pickups out of the Power 5 level in the transfer portal. So not necessarily skill guys, but on defense they've loaded up. On the interior they've loaded up. And at the skill positions they've loaded up. I think Boston College should shock some people. They definitely won't be 17th in the ACC. All right, number 6, Wisconsin. All right, 7-6 last year. Luke Fickell's first year there at Wisconsin. Predicted to go 10th in the Big Ten. First off, let's think back not too long ago. Luke Fickell, their head coach, when he was at Cincinnati, was probably one of the most coveted guys head coaching-wise. Like, if you had an opening, you were trying to hire Luke Fickell. He got them to the playoff at Cincinnati. I'm a believer in Luke Fickell. I know they had a bad year last year at Wisconsin, but he's going to get things right at Wisconsin at some point. Why not start this year? They're definitely not going to get 10th. They bring in Tyler van Dyke at quarterback from Miami. Kind of had a down year last year, Tyler van Dyke, but he was a little injured throughout the year. He still played through it. But think back to a few years ago as well. Tyler van Dyke was being thrown around as a predicted eventually first-round quarterback at some point when his first couple years at Miami. That's not the case now, obviously, but I think he's still pretty good. Like I said, last year, despite his kind of dip in production, he was playing injured. I think him at Wisconsin with Luke Fickell should be a pretty good match. All right, number 5, Texas Tech. All right, 7-6 last year, predicted to go 8th in the Big 12. They bring back Taj Brooks, one of the best running backs in the country. Top 5 production. They bring in a couple 4-stars at the skill positions in the transfer portal, in particular receiver and tight end. That should give their quarterback a lot of other options besides Taj Brooks, which means Brooks won't have to just get 40 carries a game. They can actually spread it around to these skilled tight ends, to these skilled receivers, then kind of spread it out a little bit and make some noise in the Big 12 as Texas and Oklahoma go to the SEC. All right, number 4, Texas State. 8-5 last year and predicted to go 9th in the Sun Belt, which is kind of shocking on what I could find because, first off, looking at this team's schedule, before we even get into them, looking at this team's schedule, they could legitimately go 12-0 and be a sleeper college football team out of the group of 5. So why is that? They have probably the best running back you haven't heard of, Ismail Mahdi at running back. Really good dual threat guy out of the backfield, can catch it, can run it. They bring in Jordan McLeod, quarterback at James Madison last year, which won this conference. Remember, James Madison, top 25 team at some points last year. He's going to Texas State now. We saw what they did last year in their first year under DJ Kinney. I think they're going to be even better this year. Like I said, go look at their schedule. There's no reason this team can't go undefeated. And if they go undefeated, they might be that playoff team out of the group of 5. So, Texas State, watch out for them. Number 3, Syracuse. Kyle McCord, former Ohio State quarterback, goes to Syracuse under new head coach Fran Brown. 6-7 last year, predicted to go 12th in the ACC. Kyle McCord kind of got ran out of town at Ohio State. I think he was the fall guy. I don't really think it was his fault. He put up some really good stats. He might have been limited, but I'd take him over Will Howard. I don't think Will Howard is much better than Kyle McCord. But despite bringing in Ohio State's quarterback to Syracuse, which is something you never thought you would hear probably, they also add some serious guys out of the transfer portal. Fran Brown, their new head coach, has serious connections at Georgia. He was a DB's coach at Georgia, by the way. Had serious connections, known as one of the best recruiters in the nation, if not the best. Brings a couple of receivers from Georgia with him. Also brings multiple guys out of the SEC, multiple Power 5 guys, whether it's secondary, whether it's D-line, O-line, linebacker. They've got guys everywhere. And this team's going to be super talented for the ACC, I think. There's not going to be many teams more talented than them. Now, will they gel? That I don't know, but they definitely are going to have talent. They definitely should be better in 6 and 7 for sure. All right, number 2, Iowa State. All right, so basically last year 7 and 6, typical Iowa State year. They're usually around that 8, 7, 9, 6 win range with Matt Campbell. Predicted to go 7th in the Big 12. They were really young last year. All right, they bring back all their skill guys on offense: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, Rocco Becht at quarterback. They should be even better this year. All right, so 7 and 6 with a lot of starting freshmen, you're only going to get better, especially your backfield's back. Like I said, your receiver and tight end are back as well. I think Iowa State has a legitimate chance to potentially make the Big 12 championship. I'm not saying they're going to, but if all falls right, they could only have 2 losses at the end of the year. All right, and number 1, Rutgers. Rutgers, 7 and 6 last year, pretty good year under Greg Schiano, predicted to go 10th in the Big 10. So, why are they number 1? First off, Kyle Monunga, really good running back. If you have not heard of him, led the Big 10 in rushing last year. Kyle Monunga's a beast. Rutgers, like I said, 7 and 6, okay year for Rutgers, but looking at their schedule, there's no reason this team can't be the team in the Big 10 championship waiting for Ohio State or Oregon or Penn State, whoever, come Big 10 championship time. Let's tell you who they don't play first off in the Big 10. They don't play Ohio State. They don't play Oregon. They don't play Penn State. They don't play Michigan. They don't play Iowa. Those are probably the top 5 best teams in the Big 10. Rutgers avoids all of them. There's no reason this team can't go undefeated. Their only, probably most likely loss, looking at their schedule, is Virginia Tech in the non-conference. But that doesn't matter, because if you run the table in the Big 10, all you got to do now, beat whoever it is in the Big 10 championship, you're in the college football playoff as Rutgers. I know it sounds far-fetched, but it's a legitimate shot. Go look at their schedule. It's definitely winnable. I think Rutgers is going to shock some people this year. Should be a really good team. Should be potentially a double-digit win team this year as well. I think they're going to be really good this season. But those are my top 10. Let me know yours down in the comment section. Is there anybody you would move up or down? Who would you add to this list? Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video. And most importantly, subscribe.